my job, I'm asking for help.
Now, you've already raised a bunch of money, haven't you?
Yeah, we're right at about $2 million, and then you add the money from the county, that leaves us about $250,000 away. And so this is something that is very unique, the largest funding opportunity in the history of our college. The state's willing to put 90% of $25 million into this community to help us build a new building and also do a major renovation. We were talking a little bit earlier, but you go back 50-some years, this community fought to make sure that the first community college in East Tennessee was here in Cleveland.
See, that's what I remember.
Yeah.
I remember there was a big hoo-la-la about getting the money appropriated to make this happen. For Cleveland.
Lots of communities wanted it.
Kind of like that veterans home they wanted over there.
Mm-hmm. But Cleveland won out, and so more than 50 years have gone by. Our physical plan has not been maintained well. I'm determined to make sure that it is. We applied to the state. We're the only community college in the state of Tennessee that is getting these funds for capital improvements this year, and that goes to the credit of lots of people, including our state legislators who fought very hard for us. But we wrote a great proposal. We made sure that we communicated our need, and I want folks to understand that this is not a gift that the county is giving us. This is an investment that they're making, because what we do is to serve the community. We're not a college that serves only ourselves. We're here to serve everybody in the community. We have a direct impact on the economic and development and workforce development of our community. If you think about thousands and thousands of people who've been educated by Cleveland State who stay here in this community, that's something that's different about a community college. 85% of our students stay here and work here, so they're getting good education, they're getting better jobs, they're getting better pay.
I want you to go to Cleveland
Utilities.
Go to Cleveland Utilities and see how many graduates you find there that work there.
They just brought us a check yesterday.
I'm telling you, a lot of my friends that went to Cleveland State ended up with jobs at several of them.
Tom Wheeler,
Big
Tim
jobs.
Henderson, they worked hard, and they brought us a check just the other day to make sure that they were contributing. Of course, we pay them a lot of money, too, over the years, but we really appreciate their support.
Well, I think that's really the salient point. Cleveland State contributes a lot to the economy in this area. How many full-time employees are there at Cleveland State?
We have about 200 full-time employees and maybe another 200 part-time adjuncts, things of that nature. But we have over 3,000 students there every year. And a lot of these students are the ones who might not have had an opportunity if it wasn't for Cleveland State. And we're making a huge impact in their ability to get a good job and a good paycheck and pay their taxes and buy houses. And so a lot of the money that comes to the city and county is impacted by the work that Cleveland State has done over the years.
Let me jump in there a minute. I was at the city council meeting last year when they raised taxes, and this always pops up. Somebody said, well, Lee University doesn't pay taxes. And the city went into a very deserved explanation of all the benefit that they get from Lee University being in the community and the students. So I asked Dr. Seymour about some of the numbers. There are 1,572 Bradley County residents that are attending Cleveland State. There are 1,743 from outside of Bradley County, some of them outside of the state of Tennessee. So there are actually more students coming into Bradley County to attend Cleveland State than there are Bradley County residents going there. The same argument that the city council used to explain the benefit that they get from all the purchases, all the consumer purchases that these students do at Lee applies to Cleveland State. So I think Cleveland State sometimes gets taken for granted. People it's Cleveland State, it's been there, and they take it for granted. I went 2 years there. The group of kids from my Bradley and Cleveland High that went that year, there were, I think, 3 doctors that ended up going to medical school. There were 2 dentists. There were multiple lawyers. It is I think I got a better education at Cleveland State than I would have gotten at Knoxville, and got almost all of my core courses for dental school while at Cleveland State.
And it's a testament to the strength of the institution that it survived John's
I knew that was coming.
Well, and it is a public school. We do basically the same thing as our public schools in the community. And I think it's becoming much more important these days that students get 14 years of education. And only in the state of Tennessee do you get the support for 2 years of college. We use the term free, which is not exactly correct, but at least a last dollar scholarship, so tuition is covered. And that's been happening for 3 years with high school graduates. And starting this fall, any adult who doesn't have a college degree can get that same last dollar scholarship. We have over 500 applications to Cleveland State for this fall for people to say, no, this is the right time. The state's going to provide the support. I'm going to go back and finish my degree or start a degree. And these are folks that are going to get jobs, they're going to get better jobs, and we know what the impact of that is.
Well, I encourage the city council to support this proposal. I think it's in our long-term best interest.
I'm on the board over at the Boys and Girls Club.
Yes, sir.
And one of the things that I stress to them is let the kids know, let them understand that there is college available for them. A lot of them have lived in a world where they just never dreamed of anything like going to college. And it is being made available for them. And we get the kids ready at the Boys and Girls Club to go to college. That's what we're doing these days.
Sure, and one of those units for the Boys and Girls Club is located on the Cleveland State campus, and we don't charge a penny.
Thank you very much.
Just like across the street, Junior Achievement is there with a facility, and they don't pay a penny. So we take our name of community college very seriously, and just about any nonprofit group that wants to have space or do something, we provide our facilities for free.
So this, just so everybody understands again, and to reiterate, the state is going to provide $22.5 million if you're able to come up with $2.5 million in funding.
Correct.
And you've already come close to raising privately $2 million of that 2.5.
Yeah, let me just mention that the $2 million is about $1 million of new money that we've raised. The other $1 million is coming through our foundation. As we know, the need for scholarships is changing dramatically because of Tennessee Promise and Reconnect. So our foundation board has been rethinking that. So we actually talked to donors who have established scholarships in the past and asked, would you consider moving your money to our capital fund? And they saw that as a better way to make an impact. And so we had enough people do that. That gives us up to $1 million to do that. Now, my hope in the end is we don't have to use that all, but that money is there to go towards it. So with that $1 million, a little over $1 million raised of new money, you add in the county money, and so we're kind of at that 2.25, and the city can put us over the top.
Let me delve into a little bit, though. There's some political angles here, and I'm, as I've already stated, completely supportive of this, which is probably shocking someone that always wants government smaller, taxes lower.
In all fairness, we've talked about this for the last couple of weeks, lightly. And John, usually when it comes to being spending money, he's very thrifty in that.
Well, but that's my point. You
I
want
do that too.
I want to make sure we get value for the money. So let me say two things. Well, first off, there were people on the county commission that weren't necessarily opposed to funding this. They were concerned about the mechanism. There were different avenues you could go to get the money. There are legitimate concerns that this is a state-owned property. And so some of the county commission looked at it and said, well, why are we putting money into a property that the state then owns and controls? However, having said that, we've had a pretty good run as a Republican supermajority in Nashville, and we've tried to cut government spending, tried to cut state spending, and they have cut it. And I don't think it was unreasonable on the state side to turn around and say, we're willing to put this money in, but we need a little bit of skin in the game from the locals. I don't think that's bad at all. So a lot of times it depends on where you're standing as to how you view this. And secondly, let me say this. Cleveland State, going through it for years, people would say, well, the community college is different from the major university system. I took organic chemistry at Cleveland State from Dr. Mathai. He's a PhD, left India because he didn't want to work on the atomic bomb for the Indian government. He was a contributor to the MedCat entrance exam. So he actually put questions on the national entrance exam for medical schools. I had a class of about 15 with him. So when I raised my hand and had to ask a question, a PhD who was nationally recognized walked down the aisle and talked to me. If I took that class at UT, and this is no knock on UT, I would have been in a class of probably 300 kids, and it would have been taught by a graduate student. So not only do I think it's a wonderful chance for people to start college, I think I got a better education, not because they're better than UT, but because the environment is so much better. I made A's in organic chemistry. I probably wouldn't have made A's at Knoxville, not because of the teacher, but because I would have joined a fraternity the first year instead of the third year.
Well, John, you're talking about a great transfer experience, but right now over half of our students are going for an Associates of Applied Science or a certificate, and these are degrees that are designed to get them right into the job market. The greatest transformation that we've had over the past 5 or 6 years has been in our industrial technology area. And we had great help from companies who've donated and given us equipment, but we are now state-of-the-art. And so there are pathways from the high schools into college, and to get these great jobs, we partner with a refuge. And you may have talked about that before, but it's life-changing for these students to come and get a certificate in welding after they get their training.
And, you know, I'm not making fun here. I'm actually praising John. It's always good to look with a degree of skepticism at any government expenditure. That's okay. But there are two kinds of expenditures. There are regular ones, and then there are ones that ought to be looked at as investments.
Right.
And the way you look at them is different.
I agree.
All right? And there's a tremendous return here. And when you look at it, the 90% versus 10% portion, it just seems to me it's a no-brainer.
Not unreasonable request.
And there was a concern that this would set a precedent. Well, this is the first time in 51 years that we've made any such request. We've never asked for a penny from the city or the county in the past. We don't intend to do it again. This will be the single largest event.
I like what you just said. Say that one more time.
It's the first time in 51 years we've asked for a penny.
And you don't plan on asking again?
We don't. And all you got is my word for that. But we're not going to have a need like this in the future. We're going to renovate some other buildings, but the match is so small on a renovation that we're going to be able to deal with that in a much more effective way. And so all I can do is give my word. I'm not going to be coming back to the Cedar County and asking for this in my tenure there. I can guarantee that. Because this is that significant. It really is helping us make sure that Cleveland State is doing what we do for the next 50 years. So
two
I appreciate
things
it.
to pile on. How many people out there live in a 50-year-old house and don't think that house needs a little maintenance? You know, so that was one of the arguments. Somebody said, well, this is maintenance money and it's stuff that wasn't done. These buildings are 50 years old. That's not unreasonable to say a 50-year-old building probably needs a little bit of touching up here and there. And secondly, there was an argument that, well, we've turned down a lot of other requests, and so now we're going to give this money to that. I want to make sure people understand this money is being given over a 3-year period, so the county is not paying out $250,000 in one way.
Or the city.
Well, we don't know what the city's doing yet, but the request is the same. And secondly, this was a one-time opportunity. There's a window here to be able to access, what is it, it's $20 million from the state. 22.5 million from the state. And if we let that window close, it closes and that money will go somewhere
else. The
else.
other part of that, John, is that it's just not about building a building. The addition of this building will allow us to expand our capacity in nursing and other programs. We intend to add new programs that we currently don't have. We believe that with the addition of this building, we can increase our enrollment by about 15%. So that's more students that are coming here from other counties. It's more students from Bradley County that are getting educated. And they're, like I said, about 85% of our students stay here and get better jobs.
And in fact, this money being paid over 3 years, that was in response to the fact that the county needed to be able to budget for it in the future.
Right.
They didn't just have the $250,000 laying there, right?
Exactly.
So that's why
and that
it's
was
a 3-year
discussed. I
process.
met with the Finance Committee back on April 2nd. And so some people refer to this as 11th hour request. I started talking to the mayor and commissioners back in January and February.
If John Stanberry and Franklin Chansey endorse it, what could possibly be
All right.
wrong?
I'm good. Thank you.
Hey, we endorsed it a couple of weeks ago here.
Yeah, that's right.
I
I do
appreciate
think
it.
Franklin was right that the way to look at this as an investment, and I guess Dr. Seymour's right. The direction is to help more people get better jobs. I may have been a little different, but my point was the quality of the education, whether you're going as a transfer, whether you're going into one of the trades, the quality at Cleveland State is as good as you would get anywhere. And it is an investment rather than just an expenditure that goes away. So from someone who's generally skeptical of government, this is a program that has proven itself to be effective and to, I think, return to the community more than you invest in it.
We got a call. Let's take a call from a caller.
Well, I had taken some time and read Ms. Peak's response, and what I understood was that she was not against the funding. What she was asking was exactly on the county side where the money's coming from, so they're being fiscally responsible. That's what I understood. So I think the program's great. I'm a graduate of the school as well, and I understand the need to expand, I guess, other services. But I guess I also understand the issue of the budget and how it was set. So I don't understand if this was requested ahead of time, why they didn't vet it out better.
Okay. Well, I think we talked about that I don't think Ms. Peak was against it, but there is, Dr. Seymour did exactly what he's supposed to do. I think there were some questions about why, because a lot of times these kind of requests, they want them to be voted on in the Finance Committee first. The Finance Committee sends a recommendation to the whole commission. So I think the question may have been, why did it not get a vote in the Finance Committee? But it was run through the Finance Committee. It was presented to the Finance Committee. And again, I don't think Ms. Peak was against it. I think she was just concerned, and that's what a county commissioner ought to do. They ought to make sure that all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed.
And she's a good Cleveland State alum, and she and I talked about it before and after the county commission meeting, and so I understand where she's coming from. I think she was more concerned about process. I've got to maintain a budget too, and I tell a lot of my employees there's things I can't fund every year. It's a matter of priorities. So I certainly understand and appreciate the hard choices that our commissioners have to make, and very much appreciate the fact that they saw this as a good investment and decided to fund our request. So.
Well, Dr. Seymour, I appreciate you coming in this morning, and it's kind of unusual in this group that we all agree on something, but I think we've all agreed that Cleveland needs to get behind this project.
Great. Thank you all very much.
By the way, a 15% growth in his enrollment will be 261 more out-of-county students attending school in.
I wonder how much tax revenue.
There's a formula to figure that.
Has been brought in through Cleveland State.
Well, there's another figure. We did a study 2 years ago, but indicated that every class that graduates will have $186 million more income over their lifetime. Each class that graduates, and so you consider that multiple times, and with most of those people staying local. So, there's some great studies that were done on the.
If you just think about it, your small business incubator probably would just probably stand.
Yeah. We are a model for all other communities. They come here to look at that incubator.
Mm-hmm. Well, Doctor, thanks for coming in this morning. I want to end the show up with these guys yelling and screaming a little bit. Everybody seems to like that, but just hang around right here.
No, I want to keep my job.
He's getting out of the line of fire. Smart man.
Just step back for a minute. Let me ask this one question to Franklin. And you wanted me to bring back the DACA picks.
No, I wanted to make sure Dr. Seymour got to talk.
Oh, I thought you said you wanted to wait. I'm have this question.
I'm here to take on anything you want.
Oh, all right. I think Trump is doing a wonderful job. How about you, John?
You know what? This is about the 5th week in a row you've expressed that opinion, so I think we all know that.
Who picked Trump as president before anybody?
You are the only person I know who picked him beforehand, other than himself.
Let me touch something that I always like to talk about. The shooting down at the Parkland School. Steve Wexler is a 27-year veteran, Secret Service retired. Another layer of government failure rather than the availability of guns came into play. He was asked on December 13th to do a security review of that high school. Both of his kids had attended that high school. He drove onto the property with no effort. He accessed the buildings with nobody stopping him. He carried with him a stack of Post-it notes, and he stuck Post-it notes everywhere where he saw a security concern as related to a shooter. He was never halted by security, never questioned by a faculty member. He said nobody challenged him. He ran out of his 20 markers, told the principal he could have continued if he had had more markers. He specifically noted locking the exterior gates, securing doors to the buildings, having the students wear ID badges. He asked that they do regular active shooting drills. He also talked to them about their fire alarm policy, as that was a tactic that shooters employed to gather more potential targets. He said, we learned that from Columbine. He did this 2 months before the shooting. They did absolutely nothing on any of these recommendations that he gave them. So this is another example that we don't have a problem with the guns in the society. We have a problem with our systems not functioning properly. So the idea that we turn more of our freedom over to the government, which on every level in this case has failed. And by the way, the school system is refusing to answer any of these questions. They've been asked, why did you not act on any of these specific recommendations that he gave you? They had no comment. They've also refused to release information. So this is a systemic failure of the system. It's not that we don't have enough laws in place. It's that they're not functioning correctly.
It's just a shame to me we have to go through this kind of stuff.
And by the way, at a Walmart, armed citizen shot and killed an active shooter.
Yeah, I heard that.
And in a nightclub, an FBI agent accidentally shot
more to my point. The problem is not the citizens.
And then in a classroom,
the problem is the system.
And then in a classroom the other day, a teacher accidentally discharged a firearm and shot himself. So the answer to John's question is, it's not one or the other. There are elements of both sides that have some veracity and truth in it. And if you want to get something done, people, particularly on the right, are going to have to be willing to discuss some of those issues.
I think the ones on the left have got to get involved instead of saying no to everything. The IG report, do you think there's any political bias in it?
The IG's report has bias?
I mean, what was it? The Attorney General?
Does the system?
Well, interestingly enough, he concluded the same thing I argued in here for a whole year.
What?
That there were ample things you could criticize them about. But it was...
Wait a minute. There's a lot of things you could criticize them about. Is that what you just said?
Of course.
But they didn't have...
Here's what he said. Franklin, once again, this is a lawyerly answer. What the IG said was, nowhere in these texts did they say, we are doing action A because we hate Trump. He said they are completely animated by hatred of Trump. But they never wrote down that they did something because
and of course, what they actually did hurt Hillary Clinton and helped Donald Trump.
So according to
I've said that all along.
You're right, everybody.
I don't think it hurt Hillary.
What are you talking about?
Lying Hillary is lying Hillary.
Could come out 10 days before the election and make that announcement.
Lying Hillary got caught.
I've said this
if
all
she didn't
along.
do anything wrong, Franklin, she wouldn't have anything to talk about.
I have said this all along. You are right. I'll give you this. You are right. Their intention was to hurt Trump, but like most people on your side of the political aisle, they're so incompetent.
It backfired.
They ended up hurting Hillary. So you're right.
Backfired.
I'll give you that.
That's what the name of this show is, Backfire.
And then the IG is having to do another investigation because it turns out the entire FBI structure in New York was very anti-Hillary and expressed all kinds of text messages and stuff.
Well, you know what, Franklin?
Explaining all that.
Here's what's odd about me. I hope that those people that are anti-Hillary are drummed out just as quickly as the people that were anti-Trump. These people should not be anti-anything.
Nobody is suggesting that you shouldn't look at that. Nobody's suggesting that
and also, by the way, Steve,
shouldn't be dealt with.
You go
but
off
what I will say repeatedly is, when you look at it with a degree of objectivity, all the actions they actually took helped Donald Trump.
Because they're incompetent as liberals, like I said.
They thought they were doing something to help Hillary. We can't help them.
Their intention was to help Hillary.
They thought they were doing something to help Hillary.
Before would help Hillary.
We're going to make sure he's not president.
But then they turned around and helped him.
Well, let me say this. The IG has a completely separate investigation into the Russia investigation, and apparently the indications are that the idea that bias played a role there is going to be delivered much differently, because his idea is in this investigation, well, I can't prove that they did A because of B, but in that one he is probably going to be able to show that they were intending to hurt Trump.
For 2 years I've been sitting here saying, feel free to investigate everybody. I'm okay with that. While you guys went, oh my God, we've got to stop investigating. There's a reason. I'm not scared of the truth.
Well, the truth's going to come out that your guys were trying to take.
What are you going to do when you get the truth, Franklin?
Deal with it.
How are you going to deal with it?
Well, they're probably going to give them a retirement like they gave Lois Lerner. Lois Lerner used the government against U.S. citizens, and she retired with a multi-million-dollar
retirement. What you don't understand is that there are rules in place that says you can't fire people because of their views.
Rules in place.
The issue is not whether they should be fired. The question is whether, once they express that, whether or not they should have just been removed from the investigation.
Bureaucratically,
and that's a fair question.
Bureaucratically, we need to debate that for 10 more years to see if if he was biased or not.
Who?
Strozak or whatever his name is. What is his name?
Strzok.
The one that we're still paying right now.
Strzok.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In other words,
here's one of the worst lines from that IG report. We identified numerous FBI employees at all levels of the organization and with no official reason to be in contact with the media who were nevertheless in frequent contact with reporters. That contact included employees receiving benefits from reporters such as golf outings, drinks, and meals. So they were also accepting bribes.
Crooked Hillary. All right, folks, we got to go. Dr. Bill, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
You've been listening